All right, here's some good practice for you. Do a Google search for blank unit circle. All right, and just click on any of those that have the blanks on there. Let me do this one right here. I think that's going to look better. Print that out so you can write in here. Now, you want to fill in, I'm going to use letters, you want to fill in the angle blanks first, right, all the way around, and then fill in the degrees and radians. Okay, now notice these little slashes. This is because this can be 0, or it could also be 2 pi or 360 degrees. And then make your way around. These degrees, remember we talked about them before, they're at 30, 45, and 60. 30, 45, and 60. And then come up with the radian equivalent for all those. So remember the identity. 360 degrees is 2 pi. So 30 degrees, I'm taking that 360 and I'm dividing it to get a 3. I'm dividing by 12. So take 2 pi and divide by 12, and you get 2 pi over 12. The 2's cancel. That's pi over 6. So this is pi over 6 radians. And then do the same thing for the other two. 45 degrees is what fraction of 360? And then do the same thing to the 2 pi. So 45 over 360, you can use your calculator for this. 45 divided by 360, change that to a fraction, just kind of reducing the fraction, is 1 over 8, right? And that's what we're multiplying 2 pi by. So multiply that by 2. Remember the pi, don't worry about the pi. The pi will stay there. We're just kind of reducing the fraction. So 0.25, which is pi over 4, is what we're going to get for that second one. All right, then do the same thing for the 60 degrees, right? But also notice that 60 is double 30. So pi over 6, if you double that, you just reduce the 2 and the 6 down to a 3, so pi over 3. Now, once you have the first quadrant, you basically have everything. You're ready to go through with everything, okay? So you want the to fill in the x and y, and I would also do, instead of just x and y, I would also do the tangent out here beside it, so you'll know sine, cosine, and tangent, right? But everything else is going to come from the reflection of these three into all the other quadrants. And what I mean by that is we've got so much symmetry in the unit circle. So this was 30 degrees up from 0 degrees, all right? Well, over here, remember this is 180 degrees in pi radians. So if I'm going up, that's a positive 30 degrees. Remember, if I'm coming back this way, that's counterclockwise, so that's negative 30 degrees. So we're subtracting 30 from 180, and so that's going to be 150. And then if I go from here to here, I'm subtracting 45 degrees. And if I go here to here, I'm subtracting 60 degrees. All right? But likewise, I'm also doing the same thing to pi with these numbers. So pi minus pi over 6. Remember, I can use my calculator. 1 pi minus 1 pi over 6. I just write it like that. Change it back to a fraction. That's 5 pi over 6. Alright, and the same thing, I can do 1 pi minus 1 pi over 4, 1 pi minus 1 pi over 4 into a fraction, and that's that radian measure. Okay, so 3 pi over 4, just stick the pi back in there with the top. So the point is, you can make your way all the way around here just using that first quadrant and just a little bit of combinations. So same thing, if once I get these three, I can go from 180 in pi, and then instead of subtracting because I'm going up, I would be adding, because I'm still going counterclockwise, I'm adding down to the next one. So 180 plus 30, so that'd be a 210. 180 plus 45. Pi plus pi over 6. Pi plus pi over 3 to get all the way down to here. Alright. And then this is, I can remember, a 90 degree angle, a 180 degrees, so this is 180 plus 90, so this is 270. And then you can do the same thing. You can add 30, 45, and 60 to 270, or again you could subtract from 360. 360, if I'm coming down this way, that's minus 30. Alright, now the other thing that you need to be able to get are the values for sines and cosine. And remember me telling you right now where we are, this point right here that we're trying to come up with has an x coordinate and a y coordinate. Right here the x coordinate is 1, the y coordinate is 0, and as we start rotating up, the x coordinate starts shrinking in. We're not as far out as we were before, and the y coordinate starts growing. We're up higher than we were before. Okay, but initially when we first come in, the x coordinate is still the biggest of these three intermediate special values, and the y coordinate is the smallest of the three, right? Because y is going to keep growing until it gets to a positive 1 here and a 0 for x. And so remember, you're going to get 1/2 the square root of 2 halves, or square root of 2 over 2, and the square root of 3 halves. And remember, we said that it's the same thing as 1 is the same as the square root of 1. So you can think of this as the square root of 1, the square root of 2, and the square root of 3 over 2. And it's going to be that initially, because x is shrinking and y is growing, this is going to be the biggest x and the smallest y. And then when we go up a little bit more, they're both going to be in the intermediate values. And then when we go up a little bit more, they switch. Now we have the highest y until we get to 1 of the special values, I should say. The highest y of these three, so the square root of 3 over 2, and then the lowest x. Okay? Now everything's going to stay the same. When we flip it over, all the y values are identical. They're in the exact same position as they were before, meaning that if I take a horizontal line and go from here straight across horizontally, I'm going to have the exact same y value. If I do it a little bit higher, I'm going to have the exact same y value. Right? I have to extend this one a little bit. So the y values are going to stay exactly the same, but what's going to happen with x? Well, we're on the positive side here. These will just be a sign change from what you get from here. So what I'm trying to get you to understand is the unit circle. If you can memorize this first quadrant, you've got the whole entire unit circle at your fingertips just from quadrant 1. All right, and it's really, really, really important that you understand where these numbers are coming from. And again, don't just do the sines and cosines. Don't just do the x and y coordinates. Do the ratio y to x. So you get the tangent. Just write that out here beside it. Just write tangent. And write out what it is over here. So tangent, remember, it was originally 1 over the square root of 3. You'd probably want to use like symbols, but it's 1 over square root of 3, 1, and then the square root of 3 as you make your way around it. Remember, tangent slope. So 1 over the square root of 3 is not as steep as 1, right? And then square root of 3 is steeper than 1. So it's very important, again, that you understand that first quadrant. That'll unlock the whole entire unit circle. And then all throughout the semester, I'm going to reference back to the unit circle. And then even in calculus, if you're going on to calculus, I'm going to reference back to the unit circle. So it's really important that you understand this. And so I would get a blank one and just be able to do it until you can fill it in and get it accurate every single time.